HHS put out a report about the premium costs of Obamacare. What does Senator John Thune think about that report? Well, let's find out because he's here. Nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you, Greta. Thank you.
So HHS says that the premiums are going to go down actually more than they had anticipated.
Compared to some hypothetical rate that was concocted by the Congressional Budget Office long ago, but it doesn't have anything to do when you compare it to what people are actually paying today. If you compare it to what people are actually paying today, and there was a great analysis done by the Manhattan Institute, which took those rates and extrapolated and saw how much it's going to increase. These exchange premium rates are going to increase over what people are paying today. And if you look at the average, and this is for younger people in particular who get hit the hardest, the average premium increase is going to be 95 to 97% for men, and 55 to 62 for women.
Maybe they thought it was going to be 99% for men and 60% for women, so it is less than they expected.
Well,
everyone can play around with the numbers, but I think the real question is how much did you pay this year and how much you can pay next year?
And that's what most people are going to want to know. And if you take the premium rates, and this was a Government Accountability Office study in January of this year for various states, and you compare the same type of coverage in the exchanges, and you take a state like mine in South Dakota, and you take a 30-year-old woman, and they're going to pay, their premium increase is going to be 227%, and for men it's going to be 393%. So these are going to be huge, dramatic increases, particularly for people who are in that millennial age category. But if you look at what the rates have done already for families of four, which the president said, you know, his plan would reduce rates for families by $2,500, they're actually up by $3,000. So everybody's getting hit.
Well, what I'm so curious about, I mean, there are some people who work 40 hours a week now and who are getting their hours reduced to 29 hours per week. And I'm sort of curious is that, you know, if they get an advantage in a lower premium, but are they getting a disadvantage because they're getting lower wages because they can't get the hours? I mean, there are all sorts of ways to look at this in terms of cost, in terms of how much it hits you or your family.
Well, and if you're in certain income categories, you will get some subsidies, some support, a tax credit, a refundable tax credit that helps offset the cost of that premium, but you also might be looking at higher deductibles, higher copays, and couple that with the fact that people are being, you know, put into more part-time work categories as opposed to full-time jobs. Their take-home pay's gone down. If you look at what average household income has done since the president's taken office, it's gone down on average by about $3,700. So people are getting squeezed from both ends. They're getting higher premiums, they're lower take-home pay, and it's harder to make ends meet. That's the result of what this has brought about for a lot of people in this country.
I take it, I think we've spoken many times, you agree that there's something had to be done with our healthcare system.
For sure.
Okay. So what would you have proposed for people who are in that category who you're not talking about, that they're like the younger men who are going to go up 97 and 99% cost and premium? What would you have done for them?
Well, I don't think you can do what they did in the healthcare bill. I mean, they created community rating, guarantee issue, certain mandated government-approved coverages, which drove rates up, because what it did is it basically asked younger people to subsidize the rates for people who are older and have, you know, greater health care needs. But there are lots of things that could have been done short of passing a 2,700-page bill and 20,000 pages of regulation. Interstate competition, allow people to buy across state lines, allow small businesses to pool to get the benefit of group purchasing power, do something to address the medical malpractice issue, allow people to have a refundable tax credit that they can use to buy the insurance of their choice. There are a whole range of things that we were for.
All right, let me talk about the sort of multiple employers, that pooling that you were just talking about. It reminds me that in early September you filed legislation, or you want legislation considered, where the unions were trying to get subsidies, and you were opposing that because unions who had supported Obamacare, now suddenly they wanted out of Obamacare. Where does your bill stand?
Well, right now it's been filed. We've got some co-sponsors on it, but it hasn't gone anywhere. Obviously, we've got Democrats in control in the Senate, but the unions clearly are unhappy with this as well, and they're expressing that by asking for these special exemptions. Yeah, they want a double dip. They basically want the favorable tax treatment that you get by being in an employer-provided plan, and these are called Taft-Hartley plans. They're multi-employer plans, but they also want to now get the subsidies that are available under Obamacare. So basically what they're trying to get is a carve-out for them and for their members, and you know, you can't do that. And
well, that seems unfair, I think, to a lot of people, Americans. But Congress also has, quote, a carve-out, because Congress is going to get subsidies. What about that?
And they shouldn't. I mean, everybody ought to be treated the same.
Because I mean, that's just what the irony is that the whole idea was everyone is going to be part of this,
right,
and everyone's going to contribute, and that was going to pool the money and lower the cost. But all of a sudden, we see everybody running for the hills and getting special deals every sort of which way, and those who aren't getting the special deals because they don't know the special people, they're just sort of looking at each other and say, "What happened to me?"
Which argues that this ought to be delayed for everybody. This is a bad deal. I mean, people are realizing this is not what they thought they were getting, and even those who advocated for it, like the labor unions, like many of the people in the healthcare community, the providers, are now realizing this is a bad thing. I mean, Cleveland Clinic is laying off people, hospitals are laying off people.
Cleveland Clinic, I always have to stop there for saying, Toby Cosgrove, I spoke to him, he's the CEO. He tells me that I don't know either way, but that much of what he said was either misinterpreted or taken out of context, or else he got cold feet or what he said. I don't know, but anyway, there's a dispute there about why Cleveland is laying off.
Well, I think, and that may be true, but the point is, the broader point, it's not just them. If you look at other healthcare providers across the country, hospitals, and then just employers generally. I mean, you're seeing a mad rush for the doors, and anybody who can get a special deal is trying to get a special deal. We think this ought to be delayed, not just for a select few that the president decides are his favorite constituencies. It ought to be delayed for everybody. It's not working. And the rollout of this now, they're saying there are glitches, there are lots of problems associated with the exchanges as they try to get them up and running this next week, and it's not working, and we ought to delay it.
Well, I urge the viewers, they've been writing me and telling me their experience and what they anticipate. So if viewers, email me on the record, tell me about whether your premiums are going up or down. And I haven't had a lot of happy viewers so far, I should say.
We're not hearing from many happy people in our state either.
Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Thanks, Greta.